Hey guys, Twelve58 here. Today we're going to talk about land. We're going to talk about the excitement around it, how you can prepare for it, what are some of the known variables that we can actually think through so that we position ourselves well in preparation for this amazing game-changing new dimension to the Splinterlands. I think this is huge, and it was a fun conversation between myself, Jim Morgan, and the live audience. And so I hope to stick around for this one. And if you want to be present for these live events, consider supporting the YouTube channel. Get involved at any level, and you can be invited to these live events weekly. Thanks, guys. Have an amazing day. God bless. Choonie says, "What's up, guys? Finally made it to one of these. What's your strategy for plots? How many are you going to work with? How many are you going to work?" This is a tough question and an important question, because I really think I was listening to someone talk about this recently. No, it might have been in the town hall, and just the suggestion was being made. The topic was being addressed from a perspective of, you're not going to be able to cover these all. Like, I mean, if you got 1,000 plots, good luck getting the cards. First of all, there aren't enough cards. That's the first fact. For everyone to do this, there aren't enough cards. And then secondly, you don't have enough cards. And then thirdly, there's also the 30,000 DEC you got to come up with per plot for all those starter benefits, starter packages. And I do think you want all three of them if you got plots of land. So it's like this, the number of resources. And I was watching Aftersound look at this issue, and he was like, how did he frame it? He looked at the financial cost to kickstart to now, from this point forward, to actually launch your land and do it well. And aside from the cards, it was something like $80 a plot, I think. I'm trying to think through what it would have included. You know, you're talking 30,000 DC, which is, you know, that's not 30. That's not, what is that? That's probably $10, $15. Maybe it's $15.
30K, isn't it like $7 for 10K right now?
Is it $7, 10K? So that'd be about 23
bucks.
So based on that, like, you're talking $20 for the DEC, but then there's more to it than that. What were the other components? It's not just the starters, the cards, of course. Oh, yeah, you're going to need to stake DEC into the plot of land in order to allow it to farm or to quote unquote mine SPS. So this is like a new thing. Like right now, this is a proposal. It's not 100% that this will pass, but Matt was saying, if, you know, look, you're getting a little SPS, I think 1 SPS or something per plot per day, just passively now. But that's not the way land was, you know, this is supposed to be an active pursuit. And so we want to move to a place where it's like you have to intentionally mine it, which I think is an exciting idea for people who are active and attentive and still here, because you as a landholder can hear that and act into that so that you get that greater reward. Because, and I say greater reward because it's not going to be the same, like it's not going to be the same 1 SPS. It'll be more for 2 reasons. One, it's an active thing where you're having to commit resources like staking DC in the plot. And then you have to have cards there too. So that those cost requirements would almost necessitate that the reward, the payout would be bigger. So I think the number of SPS will be bigger through that active mining. But I also think the number of paid SPS per plot will be bigger because the number of active plots that are actually farming or mining will be far fewer. Because 2 reasons. Some people are AFK, away from a computer, like not paying attention. And 2, like I said, good luck launching all your land on day 1. Like, how are you equipping? If it is, I think he said $80, and we just said $20 for the SPS, and then you imagine some amount of DC, maybe another 30,000. That's another $20 to stake into it, plus the cards, 50, 60, $70. You know, how much are your cards, I guess, per plot. Like, if you've got 100 plots or 1,000 plots, you're not equipping them all on day 1, which means that there's going to be what, 25%, 50%, 75% of the plots that just go, that are not being utilized properly initially. And so thinking through how you launch well, to Choonie's question, like, what are you going to do? What are your strategies? I want to think through all of those considerations, and I guess position myself best to launch whatever I've got. Because I don't think anymore I could handle 100. That was one of the things I wanted 100. I don't think I could handle 100. And so I don't really want to rush out to buy 100 when I don't even really think I can equip them with the resources required. So that's the first part, like understanding the complexity, and then 2, recognizing my own limitations, and then 3, preparing to launch well with what I do have with 14, 15 plots. And so that's in a nutshell what I'm thinking. Jim, any thoughts on that?
Honestly, when I was talking to Steve about land, it got me super hyped up for it. But it's also, I know how much stuff you're going to have to add into this.
Mm-hmm.
Steve himself and other people have also been talking. You're going to have to put a lot more money into it, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
All the extra DC, all the extra cards that most people do not have. It's something that a lot of people just aren't thinking about. And as of right now, I don't even have that great of a collection, let alone me be able to have my collection along with now provide cards for this land.
Yeah.
Sure, in theory, this is all amazing, right? Like you get to make cards, you could be some of the first owners of it, you get to find the secrets of Praetoria. Yeah, that's right. It. I was about to say Praeoria, that's not it. Praetoria. And it's all very, very cool, and it's one thing a lot of people are looking at. What do I like to do? When everyone's looking one way, turn my head, change my focus, and see what else can we get into.
Mm-hmm.
Because if land is just, as of right now, out of my price range in terms of how much I want to put into it, I might get like 1 or 2, maybe a couple more, but I'm not looking to get. I don't think I can do a land tract. That's a ridiculous amount.
I want one for sure. It just doesn't feel like you kind of said there, when everyone's looking one direction, look the other way for opportunity. I think that's really smart. And knowing your limitation, because if you recognize the challenge of launching 100 plots well, first of all, buying a tract is 11 grand probably. And then on top of that, you're talking, I think at minimum, you're talking probably $50 per plot to launch it well, to get the starter packages, all 3 of them, to get the good cards that you're going to want on the land, to get the DEC.
You gotta get them gold, right? Like they have to be gold.
The better they are, the better they'll pay. And so just even thinking through like what that would look like, I was like, if you go to the buy on Peak Monsters and you look at the CP to cost ratio, and they've, from what I've been able to glean, summoners I don't know that they're going to play an integral role in the mining or the farming or the land resource production. It doesn't sound clear to me that summoners are a big part of this. It sounds like monsters first, and maybe summoners can work, but I don't know that they're mandatory on every plot. That's one thing I've heard. And another is, the more CP each card that you use has, the more resource production or the opportunity it'll for it to generate you that benefit. So then you think, well, and I think 5 cards is what they're saying per plot. And so then you might say to yourself, if you've got some really good plots, or if you want to really launch your land well, you're going to find the most collection power that you can get in any one card, which brings you into like the alphas, of course. Because they're going to be the oldest, and then you want even gold foils. And of course, the costs are crazy in these things. So that becomes immediately off the table. But there's probably some interesting, one of the considerations that Choonie, you could think through, and everyone out there should be thinking through, is not just like, do I have cards to slap in there that'll suffice, but are there certain card opportunities on the marketplace that are uniquely powerful from a collection point stance that would fit into my plots of land that might have, because of whatever reason, have like a relatively low cost purchase price? Because that'll happen occasionally where a card, like just looking at these gold foil alphas, these are very expensive. And I'm not saying these are a bargain, but you might note that of these very expensive cards, some are cheaper than others. Like we got 48 CP per dollar on the Serpent of Flame versus 38 on the Mischievous Mermaid. And so there are times where a certain card will come up that'll be really inexpensive for what it is. And maybe it's not really alphas that you're able to look for. Maybe it's in the beta window. Now we're pretty much triple, or at least pretty well triple the CP to cost ratio here on the betas. And these are going to provide a degree of benefit over the other cards, like the promos or the rewards or untames. And so trying to find where on that spectrum your budget will allow, so that, and knowing how many plots do you have, and then also understanding some of the plots are going to be better. They're going to be epic or legendary. They're going to have magical resources. They're going to have, they might have those, what are they called? The souls or whatever. And so certain land plots that you will own will be more desirable to properly staff than other of them. And so of those ones, to probably make sense to be looking through the marketplace for deals within some of these older cards that might not necessarily fit into your plan for deck building, but that in this moment, because of what Jim said, people are looking one direction. Maybe there's an opportunity if you're sniping some of these cards, maybe not betas, maybe not gold, maybe it's just alphas and they're just regular foils because gold foils is just too much, or maybe it's beta gold foils, or maybe it's, even reward gold foils could be interesting too. Let's see. Look at this, 500 CP to $1 on the Dark Ferryman. And that's a gold foil. And that's got the cracked, so that's one of the older ones, I think, if I'm recalling the card framing correctly.
Yeah, it's the untamed one.
Yeah. So that seems to be like several different ways to like look at preparing yourself for it. There was one more element of that I wanted to look at. I don't know if this is final, but they talked in 2 or 3 town halls ago about land, and they said they've told us that you're going to need to put DEC into the land in order to extract resources. That was something that they talked about for just general land farming. And then last week they implied that would be part of a proposal, so that would increase that would affect how you mine SPS out of it. So it sounds like it's not 100% locked in stone, but they talked initially about how many DEC would you need? Well, part of it would be, one suggestion that I heard, I can't remember who say on the town hall, was like, if the Dark Ferryman has 2000 CP in the one card that you're dropping into the land, it has 2000 CP, then you would need to put 2000 DEC to account for that sort of effectiveness. It's like you're, feeding it or giving it the proper resources to thrive. It's not spent, it's not deleted, it's staked into your plot. And if you start to think, if that ends up being, let's say, the measuring stick or the way they calculate how much DC has to go into it, you can begin to imagine a budget for what your plots of land would look like, because you already have some cards that you maybe don't play every day in your rank battles, and that might be great fits for land mining or whatever. And so all of that can be thought through, planned. But then there's one more level to it, because they said that the Secret of Praetoria will be calculated based on how effective you are at mining, I guess. I don't know what terminology to use here, but like at how much you're mining your plots. And part of it was DEC too. I think you're almost contributing DEC into the mining efforts for the Secret of Praetoria. But I think there's a card element also, because we talked in one of the posts, this was written in one of the blog posts, they said you might be able to use infinite number of cards to chase after that Secret of Praetoria. And that doesn't mean 5. It means as many as you possibly want to cram on there to chase after that. And that would then increase the number of DEC commitments. So maybe those who are here, or ultimately those who see this video, might not be the ones who are dropping thousands of cards into one plot to chase after that unknown treasure. But I think there will be Splinterlands players who do actively do that. And so
this game has gone from a card game to an RTS.
Yeah.
So now we're just managing our resources to be like, hey, you guys go farm this stuff. We're going to send you over here on a quest.
That's interesting that you say it that way, Jim. There is an element to that, isn't there? It's economy management. And it like almost like StarCraft, where like you in the early game you've got extra minerals and not enough SP and gas, so you're pumping out Marines, or you're pumping out whatever other mineral zerglings, like, so because you got the minerals, but then later late game and then you got to manage your Vespian. Dude, yeah, you're right. There's an element to that for sure. So Chun, I feel like that's a pretty rounded answer to your question, and I definitely think that's there's even more to it. But when you think that
it's going to make an RTS now,
I would love. Well, first of all, I love RTS, and I think that elements of this would really turn into that well. But yeah, great question. I'll clip that one and I'll give you a raffle ticket there, Chun.